What is up, everyone? Justin Parnell here, and today we're going to be looking at a brand new Commander Masters pre-constructed deck. And today we're going to talk about what you can do to upgrade that deck into a powerhouse for your next Commander game. Today we're going to be looking at the Enduring Enchantments Precon. So the first thing we need to do is get our hands on one. Fortunately, I got mine right here. If you want to get your hands on this deck, or any other Commander Masters products, check out your friendly local game store, or just click the link below right here in the description. So now we're ready to go. The first thing we want to do is identify what strategy the deck is working with, and for that, let's check out the Commander. Enduring Enchantments is led by Enchantment, Hand of Erebos. She and the deck are white, black, and green, and obviously care a lot about enchantments. So two things jump out to me when looking at Enchantment. The first is that she has Menace and grants it to all of your creatures that are also enchantments. So that tells me we're going to look to be aggressive and want to win the game primarily through attacking. The second is that Enchantment exiles enchantments from your graveyard to make copies of them, but also turns them into 3/3 zombie creatures. We can get our enchantments into the graveyard the natural way, or we can put them there ourselves. Probably a bit of both. Notably, these zombies are still going to be enchantments and would do whatever they do normally, but now they also are menacing zombies. And the rest of the deck supports what Enchantment is up to, with lots of enchantment creatures and ways to draw cards from your enchantments. Enchantment didn't come alone, though, as 9 other brand new cards are also in this deck. The new cards are Composer of Spring, Narcy Fable Singer, Ondu Spirit Dancer, Demon of Fate's Design, Nyxborn Behemoth, Ghoulish Impetus, Boon of the Spirit Realm, Battle at the Hell Vault, and Cacophony Unleashed. So back to our original goal. We're going to be upgrading this Precon and add a bunch of black cards. Alright, so we'll probably add like a white and green card or two. Probably, but no promises. So to keep the identity of the deck, we're going to look to upgrade between 20 to 30% of the non-land cards. And now, the reason that we're not going to be talking about land is because upgrading the mana base of a deck is mainly about card availability. So you know the types of cards that you have, and you probably also know the types of lands that are great in Commander decks. So if you have the colors of land that can improve this deck, great. Excellent. Feel free to do so. If not, you can just do it over time. Don't feel the need to acquire a bunch of new lands for this deck right away, because all of the cards we're going to be talking about today will have a much bigger impact on the function of the deck. There are 37 lands in this deck, so we're going to look to change out between 19 and 25 cards, or 18.9 to 25.2 if you're checking my math. But because I am merely just a human being, we're going to find the cards we want to add before we make cuts. Well, the first thing I want to add is the actual factual enchantment creatures that I think that the deck is missing. It's not a ton, but I have 7 that I definitely want to add. Weaver of Harmony to copy our massive amount of triggers. This was last printed in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Gravebreaker Lamia to help us find the best enchantment to return. This also only has 1 printing in Theros Beyond Death. Karametra, God of Harvest to get our ramp on, and this was most recently printed in the list, but a super dope version is in Commander Legends, and that would be the one that I'd be after. Alsaid of Life's Bounty to protect Enchantment and other important cards, including enchantments, and this is only printed in Theros Beyond Death. Athrio's God of Passage to put more pressure on our opponents. This was last printed in Mystery Booster, but also in its original printing in Journey into Nyx. Another Journey into Nyx card is Agent of Erebos, which can constantly deal with our opponent's graveyards. And of course, last but not least is Erebos, God of the Dead himself, because 1, well, he's the best god ever, and 2, he shuts off life gain from our opponents completely. Always important when you're trying to win with non-infinite damage. The only printing he has is in Theros, or if you're trying to ball out of control, there's a secret lair drop with a really excellent art. Next up is Ramp, and this time it's going to be in the form of enchantments. This is the biggest head scratcher for me from the original deck list, but fortunately easy enough to upgrade for this portion of the Precon. Fertile Ground and Utopia Sprawl were both most recently printed in the Forgotten Realms Commander product, as well as Wild Growth. All three came in the same deck, but Wild Growth is also in Dominaria Remastered earlier this year. Wolf Willow Haven is the fourth one, and that's found in Jumpstart and Theros Beyond Death. Next, we're going to focus on my favorite zone in Magic, and that is the graveyard. Entomb has been the premier throw a card in your graveyard card for 20 years strong, and it'll be great for us here to have a surprise zombie right before Onyxia attacks. This is most recently printed in Dominaria Remastered earlier this year. Unmarked Grave is Entomb's little brother, and it's almost as good. Still good enough for a slot in our deck. This is only printed in Modern Horizons 2. Hall of Heliod's Generosity is the only land I'll be talking about today because it's a huge help in long game situations. Its only printing is in Modern Horizons. Eerie Ultimatum is a must-have for decks that are black, white, and green and can do absolutely crazy stuff with the amount of enter the battlefield triggers we have going around in this deck. This one only printed in Ikoria. Pull from Eternity is my secret tech for decks that exile their own cards. This is an even better trick than Entomb. No one expects an already exiled card to come back. This is a must-have and my favorite card we are adding to this deck at all. It only has one printing in Time Spiral, but fortunately should be easy enough to find. The next group of cards I'm going to talk about are going to come with an asterisk because while they are incredibly powerful for this deck, they can be somewhat difficult to find if you don't already own copies. All of Doubling Season, Anointed Procession, and Parallel Lives are absolutely fantastic with our commander, doubling the amount of tokens we get from their ability. They allow for truly crazy board states. And if you can't get those, I do have replacements I can recommend in this order. The first is Song of the World Soul, followed by Growing Ranks, and finally Nesting Dovehawk. Populate is still very good for us, and all of these cards have Populate, and actually situationally can be better if we draw the Populate cards after we've already made tokens rather than before. The rest are some odds and ends that help the deck from a variety of angles. Necromancer's Covenant is an incredible addition to this deck. It makes a ton of zombies, exiles the juiciest graveyard, and gives all of your zombies lifelink, including the tokens our commander makes. This is this deck's secret all-star. The last time it was printed was in Commander 2015, but it should still be pretty easy to find. Hallowed Haunting lets us double up on our play an enchantment, make a token card, alongside Sigil of the Empty Throne, which is already in this deck. Its only printing was just a short while ago in Innistrad Crimson Vow. Sterling Grove protects our enchantments, including our commander. Its most recent printing was in Modern Horizons 2, a whopping 20 years since the first time it was printed in Invasion. Swords of Plowshares, you know it, you love it, acts as additional cheap removal to go along Path to Exile already in the deck. It was recently printed right here in Commander Masters. And finally, both Heroic Intervention and Clever Concealment work to save all of our permanents in disaster situations. Notably, Clever Concealment is great in the face of a mass exile effect like Farewell, if you play with people that play that card. I recommend not doing so. Heroic Intervention, most recently printed right here in Commander Masters, with Clever Concealment's only printing in the Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One Commander product. Now that we have the 25 cards that we're adding, let's get to the hard part, the cuts. The first group is by far the largest, and that is the secondary commander Narsi, all of the sagas in the deck. I think a lot of these cards are very solid, but ultimately they move the deck in a different direction than we're taking it. I actually think Narsi is really awesome, and if this video is popular, I'll return to this deck and do another upgrade video with her at the helm instead of Onyxia, but today it's Onyxia's show. The next group is the mana ramp that doesn't fit into this new version of the deck or is kind of just less powerful than what we already have going. Farseek and Rampant Growth are gone, Omen of the Hunt and Colony Heart Expedition are just okay, and Course of Crufix and Greater Tanuki are just victims of being worse enchantment creatures than the rest of the ones in the deck. The rest of the cards are just a smattering of things we found better options for, or maybe cards that don't exactly fit what the deck looks like now. And this group, there are a couple I want to talk a little bit more about. Ghoulish Impetus is a brand new card. It's a great card. And honestly, if we could bring back auras with our commander, it would stay, but we can't, so it goes. Felidar Retreat is powerful. but we just took out most of our cards that find additional lands, so it's going to leave as well. And Abundance is sort of a do-nothing card in any deck that draws so many cards. Even Rebecca Gay's Perfect Art cannot save it. And the last two cuts are just a basic Plains and a basic Forest. And honestly, I don't really know if that's right, but I'm not going to cut a Swamp on principle, so that's what we got. So overall, we changed 25 cards, including removing 19 enchantments, but adding 17. So we lost 2 overall in the transition, so maybe that's something to think about as we play that deck, in case it seems like we might need a couple more. So this is the deck in all of its glory, and as always, you can find the link to the full deck list in the description below. So if you want to get started with this deck, or pick up any other Commander Master product, you can check out the link in the description below, or head to your friendly local game store. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Justin Parnell. We'll see you next time.